Welcome to the 1 Million Years of Joy podcast. I'm Dr. Andrea Benaker, your host, and my intention is to inspire you to find more joy in your life through the stories from our guests and the science on joy and purpose. I'm happy to introduce to you Dr. Reza Mia, who graduated from medical school at the age of 23, and following his internship and community service work, he completed an MBA and an MSc in finance and investment banking and capital markets. He then passed the Mensa entrance exam and completed an advanced diploma in aesthetic medicine. He holds patents under his name in multiple countries and is a founder and chairman of Pegasus Universal Aerospace. He lives by the creed of arts, meets science, and implements this in all that he does. Reza lives in South Africa. Reza, I'm so happy to have you on our podcast. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So Reza, tell us a little bit about your journey. You've done some absolutely wonderful things professionally, personally, and I'd love for you to share with our audience those wonderful things before we dive into the topic of joy.
Sure. No, I'm happy to be here. So basically, I am from Johannesburg. I've lived here, studied here my whole life. I went to study medicine at Wits University. And after that, I worked at Baragwanath Hospital and then Johannesburg General Hospital, doing my comm service and internship years. And then I decided I didn't know enough and that I needed to see how I could help more people than one person at a time. And the idea to look at management and business came about. And so I did an MBA and then did a master's in finance because I felt like I didn't learn enough of that in the MBA. And then I somehow decided that there was a gap in the market where aviation was concerned. And I think I was kind of led there through a process of going with the flow almost, because I was making a herbal energy drink called Legend with a friend of mine. But we were also then importing skincare products from a doctor named Dr. Ray from Dr. 90210 in the US. And we realized that we needed to sell 100 cans of the drink to make the same profit as selling one cream. And so I just thought that's silly to keep on selling the creams because, it is a bigger price tag, but people don't go through all of the same decisions. It is similar, even though it's a bigger price tag. You have to convince 100 people to make a purchase versus convincing each one. And I thought, this line must end somewhere. And it kind of ended at ships, property, and airplanes. And I think of those, the most exciting is aviation. And I decided I wanted to make my own airplane. So I started working with some engineers. We did conceptual design studies, and we found the best way to do vertical takeoff and landing. And when we did that, I then started doing a series of studies, basically looking at the various aspects of the plane and in the business, basically financial, market research, and technical reviews. And every time we successfully completed that, I'd start again. And so it was almost just this spiral building on each other. And right now we've built quarter scales, which are 4-meter wingspan planes following our 8 scales. We've built a full-scale cockpit, and then we built a full-scale cockpit with a front half of a cabin, and we're using that with the Test Flight Association to FASA. So they'll be putting that into their big simulator screen and they'll be flying the plane and its software and the simulator. So that's kind of where we are right now. There are some other projects that I'm working on. Obviously, South Africa needs electricity right now. So we're using some land that we have to try to create a solar farm, but also looking at working with some of the nuclear scientists on small-scale modular reactors, different ways of creating stem cell-based organs that we could basically eventually mass produce and sell. So there's big ideas and, some of them will reach fruition. But for now, the one that's most furthest along, I would say, is the airplane.
How wonderful. This is so impressive. Just listening to everything you've done since you've gotten your medical degree is quite impressive. And the diversity of fields you have actually continued exploring and diving deeper into, it's absolutely amazing. And you're really a pioneer in many ways, right? Through even just the creation of the plane that will actually lift vertically, it's quite impressive. So congratulations. Where does all this innovation and creativity come from?
Well, thanks a lot. I think it was Nikola Tesla who said that the ideas never came from him, but they came through him. And I do feel a lot like that. I feel that sometimes we're just relaxing or meditating or swimming and something pops into your head and you think, oh, that's a good idea. But I do think we are guided in many ways. But one of the things that happens with time and with your brain is that if you learn more and you fill it with more knowledge of various, as you say, diversified fields, you're able to allow your brain to come up with ideas on its own that, other people may not be able to if they haven't had the exposure to that varying and wide, diverse nature of those fields. So, what I would look at then is basically saying to people, it's a good idea to work in that way and to allow yourself to grow and to feed your head in a way that it has what it needs to, the raw ingredients to bake the cakes in your mind.
Let's talk now about joy. From all these amazing things that you're doing, what is the greatest source of joy in your life?
So I think it's difficult to say which one is the greatest, but I can say what does bring me joy. And I mean, in no order of importance, but it is family, friends, my pets, the cats, the dogs, the other animals that are roaming around this building, invention, solving problems. There's nothing better to identify an issue of great importance and to find a solution to it, and then to work through it and to actually see this thing growing and gaining momentum and turning into something real. So that's something that really makes me happy. I think the feeling of progress when I do study gives me joy. So these certificates, obviously, they all come about over time. And it's just because I feel stagnant if I'm not learning something new. So right now I'm studying for the pilot exams, the PPL, so that I can then go and get my hours and become a pilot so I can fly my own plane, the vertical business jet. But that's kind of the things that I do appreciate. I like to see the people growing with each other, that human interaction. Obviously, music, comedy, all of these things bring me joy. But one of the things that sometimes people see as a chore, which is to exercise, to work out. This is something that I actually enjoy. I enjoy the process. I enjoy what it does for us, the health, the result. I like the feeling of exercising. So that's another big factor, I guess.
And how do you bring joy to others? You mentioned friends, family are important in your life. How do you bring joy to those that you love and play a key role in your life?
I think working on them with aesthetics is one of the most, I wouldn't say the most important, but one of the things I spend the most time doing, helping people, bringing joy to them through my work, my injectables, and contributing to their lives in ways that will give them a memory that they can remember. It's something that you want them to think about in 5 years and 50 years. And I think humor has a lot to do with it. When we're spending time together, it's not to try to be a clown or anything, but there's always moments that we can extract laughter and to make it fun. And that's something that I like to think of myself as someone who can be quite funny with my friends and family. But, even through social media, the videos that we post, they're never dull and boring. We mean them to be educational. But at the same time, we don't want them to be boring. We want people to watch them and to enjoy them. So however I can put my energy out there in a way that gives people something to think about, something to remember, but also something to laugh about, it means that I've done something right for the day.
Talking about this, what do you think we should do collectively, no matter where we may be in this world, no matter what our age is, no matter what our professions are? What should we do collectively to actually bring more joy to all generations and future generations as well?
Well, I think it's easy to look at it in levels, almost like from your center and you're moving outwards. So the one thing is if we can look after ourselves, it will naturally lead to us interacting with other people in a more positive way, which then will lead to us working together in a more collaborative way. And so if we look at the biggest problems that face the world, if we can work together, there's ways that we can solve all of them. Most of them are a lack of collaboration, a lack of people sharing resources, working together. And that's because people are scared. They have the idea that they need to isolate themselves in whatever layer that they're in, whether it's the country or the religion, or there's people who they want to be protected in a way, but that's not the way that's best for the whole human race. If we can work together as one team, then that is a way that we can solve all the basic problems and allow us to then experience joy. But the thing is, we shouldn't wait for that. You can be happy doing anything. You can be happy working, sitting on the bus. It's your decision that now I'm going to be happy. You can be working in a mine and you can be whistling and happy. It's not to say that we must one day be happy. So joy can come from simple things, from tea, from sharing meals. That's the thing. It's for us to look for it in the small things, but for us to create it in a bigger way is to just start with ourselves and work our way outwards so that we can reach a state where we're all working as one unit.
It's so important what you're saying. And as I'm hearing you talk about this, I'm curious to learn about how your view on joy has shifted or evolved, if at all, since you were younger, particularly in living in South Africa, as you've mentioned. Do you look at your life and finding joy in a different way today than you did maybe when you were younger, even before getting your medical degree and so on?
Well, yes. So obviously, when you're a kid, you just want to playing with your toys, playing with your friends. That's where your joy came from. It was more direct. It was more immediate gratification. But I think what happens as time goes by is that you learn to delay joy. So the first time I started studying, it was a chore. It was terrible. I hated it. I wanted to put it down and go out with my friends because that was joy when I was studying. But learning to actually enjoy that process and to see what it could do for me and to grow from that, instead of looking at it as I'm delaying joy with no joy now and I'll have fun later. It's almost, well, this process itself is joyful. It can make me happy. It feeds me, it grows me. And then as we progress, there are ways that we can balance this and learn to actually have some alternative fun sometimes, but just to realize that fun doesn't always look like fun. Sometimes people think it means, you have to be on a roller coaster, or you have to be at a club, or, that's fun for some people, but for me, it would be a very sometimes fun. Most of the time, it's just like I say, it's to find joy in the things that will actually feed you and grow you, and then use that to keep you moving forward.
Yes, and growth and evolution is key to tackling some of the problems that we have in this world. That is absolutely the angle that you're taking through a lot of the opportunities you're actually exploring. It's all about looking at the need or the problem that we have in society and how can you actually contribute to it in a positive way. And I really love also what you mentioned about the journey. Indeed, sometimes we forget about finding joy in the journey. It's almost like, oh, when I arrive at that milestone, I'll find joy or I'll find fulfillment. But the reality is that joy can be experienced in this present moment and must not actually be delayed because you do not know how many days or weeks or years you have in front of you, right?
That's why I think that destination addiction is dangerous, because postponing your happiness, you may never get to that point. Like you said, you might not be here tomorrow, but at least you would have enjoyed the time that you had here. And I do believe that we choose the amount of time we spend here before we come here into the planet. And that is a philosophical belief. Not everybody shares that belief, but it does make sense to me that, we have some control over what we're doing here, even though we may not remember it now. And so the answer is, well, if in the wisdom of my higher soul, I decided this was what I needed to go through, then it's where I should just enjoy. I should work with it. Obviously, pain is there to teach us as well. You can't really enjoy that, but you can learn from it and you can move forward, and you don't have to become the victim of it or suffer because of it.
So let's talk a little bit more about that specifically on bad days. And I know you mentioned humor is an important aspect of your life. How do you lift yourself up when maybe there's a challenge in front of you or something that didn't really quite go as expected? One of your investments, one of the business opportunities you're moving forward with, maybe is moving slower than expected and so on. So when you're feeling down, how do you lift yourself up to find joy again?
I think it's just to look at the challenge as something to be overcome and to love that challenge. So when you look at it as a burden, it becomes a weight on your shoulders. When you look at it as something exciting, a journey, an adventure to be had and to overcome, then that makes it easier. It's just to change the way you're looking at it. But obviously, some days the challenges do become overwhelming. And then it's, again, to try to remember where you are headed. But it's good to also surround yourself with people that you get along with, that feed you, that work with you, so that on your hard days you can lean on them, and their hard days they can lean on you. You support each other.
And that's so important indeed, because on those hard days, isolation actually has been proven to kill us, actually. And that's something that we must absolutely avoid. And I know it's easy to isolate ourselves because we may feel shame or we may feel depressed. But yes, we have to find the courage to reconnect and share our realities with others.
Yeah, counterintuitive. The days you want to hide are the days you should talk to people.
Exactly. So tell us more about humor. You mentioned humor plays an important role in your life. What are some crazy humorous things that you've done with your family, with your friends, with your pets? Anything you'd like to share?
It's something about finding the humor in the moment. That's kind of the greatest thing. It's not, telling jokes. It's sitting down and saying a horse walks into a bar. That's not really funny, but it's to take the energy of what's happening right now and to turn it into a way that people can laugh. It needs to be almost reflexive, like a instant. Oh, somebody said this, it needs to be fast. And the fast, witty comebacks and the way that you work with it, that's, I think, what brings people the most laughter because it's unexpected. And I think it's very important, though.
I agree. As you know, there's yoga laughter that some people use, in fact, to overcome mental challenges and really just activate the dopamine in our bodies, in our brains, in order to find joy again. So laughter and humor is absolutely very, very powerful. So I absolutely love what you just said. So if there were just a couple of words that we can focus on and we would take away all your diplomas, all your titles and any descriptive elements basically that are connected to your past, how would Reza describe himself?
I would say funny, caring, persistent.
And persistent
That's kind
absolutely
of
needed, especially with all the business venture that you're pursuing.
It helps. Sometimes you don't see further than the next few steps, but there's a lot of faith in that, well, once I get to those next steps, I'll identify the following steps. So it's not that you need to see the whole journey up ahead. As long as you have an idea where you need to go, the in-between steps you'll fill as you go.
And if there was a possibility to have any magic power, what would that be for you?
Teleportation.
Why?
Well, to get anywhere instantly, you can do anything.
In today's time realm or another time realm?
Well, any time realm. I could get to you in 1 second. I could get back here. I could solve crimes, stop crimes. That's a good superpower to have.
Indeed. And if there would be something that you could change from your past, would you change that? And what would that be?
I wouldn't change anything. Even the things that we think were bad were necessary to get exactly here. If we weren't, we wouldn't be here. And who knows what we would have been missing.
So any final thoughts? Tell us also about some of the things that you'd like to pursue in the future. I mean, it seems like you have so much going on, so many opportunities and businesses that you're engaged in. What are some key milestones that you'd like to achieve in order to live a life with no regrets?
So I think mainly it's to tell people to be authentic, be themselves, and to enjoy that. The people that are meant to be in your life will appreciate you for your uniqueness. It's not that you should try to be something that you're not based on what you think is the ideal of society or wherever you are. Again, it's a form of guidance. Your soul's telling you where to go to meet the right people that will be in your life. So that's how you find real joy. And then you also, if you do find yourself in a relationship or in relationships based on who you are, and those will be the easy ones. It won't take work and effort because you're not pretending to be something that you're not. The next thing, milestones that I'm looking forward to is to see my plane fly, to fly my own plane, and to work on, as we say, these new ventures, new ideas, and to see how we can create progress in one or all of them so that we can bring a benefit to the planet. I think there's a lot that we can achieve, again, just with the right combination of ideas and resources. It does take work and it does take time, but we should never be afraid of that. The time will pass anyway. We must just do our best. And it's funny, doing our best doesn't mean just sitting at your desk 24/7. It means finding a way to do your best to do your best, which is something that it does also mean that you must create some balance in your life.
So tell us about this point about balance, because I absolutely agree. Balance is key, especially if we want to be a pioneer, if we want to achieve so many great things. We also need to think about ourselves and taking care about our own mental and physical well-being. Is that what you mean by balance? Or tell us a little bit more about your definition of balance.
Well, that is what I mean. And I don't think it means that you must be equally balanced between home and work. I think that the way you structure that time just has to work for you. And it needs to be something that you can use to pursue your goals. And that can change over your lifetime. The way you work at 30 is not the same as 40, it's not the same at 50. It's just to figure out what works for you and to make sure that you're not neglecting anything in your life. But your first priority should always be your health and wellness, physical, mental, emotional, because without that, anything that you do achieve, if you are deteriorating in your health, there's not much left to enjoy. You make a lot of money, what can you do with it? And so you can't, buy a new heart just yet, not until we make them. So, but for now, it means that we have to prioritize that. And everything else has to come afterwards. But it's to have some discipline to make sure that you aren't just doing, like we say, joy can be long term. It doesn't mean that you should neglect your body or drink away your sadness every time you're sad. It doesn't work like that. It's about finding a holistic and a true joy. So I guess that's kind of the main message there.
Great. And final question about life purpose. Tell us about your life purpose and any advice you would have for someone that is seeking to find their life purpose.
So I think my life purpose is to bring new ideas and inventions into the world. I think that's where I'm heading towards. And I think for people to unlock their life purpose, they again need to be honest with themselves. They need to act in integrity with their feelings, their emotions, their guidance, and they have to be authentically themselves. And that's how they can unlock that. I do think, that in future there are things that I would like to do. To come back to your previous question about a life free of regret, I think it would be nice to have kids one day. I don't know when or how, but it will happen. It's just that I think it's important to be able to have the time to invest into them. So if I, let's say, had kids now, I wouldn't be very present. I'd be focusing on the work, focusing on different elements. But like I say, as time goes, your focus can shift and you can adjust the time that you spend on different aspects of your life.
So important. Well, thank you so much for sharing this last point, and everything you have shared has been an absolute delight. Reza, congratulations on all the amazing things that you're doing. I wish you continued success and look forward to hearing about all the wonderful things you're doing and the accomplishments that I'm sure you will achieve very, very soon, particularly with your private jet. Sounds absolutely amazing. And thank you again for your time. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much. And I forgot to mention, if you haven't watched the movie The Lost City, you
Yeah.
need to watch it because the plane is in there. They use it when they kidnap Sandra Bullock. So
Okay.
that's a very good one.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you again, Reza.